And here we are at Atlantic Canada's first Seafood Industry Innovation Summit in beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland at the Marine Institute. It's been a great couple of days of conversations, collaboration. There's definitely a lot of people willing and wanting to work with one another. Alastair, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Alastair Trower, Director of Business Development with Enginuity. We're a design engineering business based out of Halifax. Started 20 years ago. I think 18 years ago we did our first seafood project with Clearwater Seafoods, and we've been in the industry ever since. So probably 50% of our revenue is oceans related, and of that a good sort of 30% of our revenue is seafood focused.
Alastair, what kind of products and services do you provide to the customer?
So we're an engineering team, and we effectively provide a Swiss Army knife of engineering resource to solve problems within industry. So I can walk around a fish plant or a fishing vessel or any business really, and understand what the challenges are in that business, and at some point there will be an intersection with engineering. So it could be machine design, it could be part of a new value add product that a company is trying to innovate. There will at some point there'll become the question, okay, so how are we going to do that? And Enginuity slide in with whatever engineering resources are needed, whether it's design, mechanical engineering, controls, automation, industrial design, all of those different facets of engineering.
So let's stay on that automation piece for a moment.
Sure.
As you walk through those processing plants, as you so rightly pointed out, Clearwater, of course, being one of your clients, you must see all kinds of opportunity for automation, and indeed the processors themselves, constrained by a workforce, are looking for ways to come up with that. Tell me about that.
So by far the biggest driver, not only in seafood but in any manufacturing, is obviously demographics. Boomer generations retiring out, average age of workforce is going up. The younger generations don't necessarily aspire to work in manufacturing jobs, so that's a big challenge. And those that don't necessarily want to be working in fish plants. So that's the backdrop. Obviously COVID was a compounding factor. We were immediately getting calls from companies saying, I've got to do my existing production capacity but with half the people because I've got to separate everybody. So how do I do that? So that really opened the door to additional layers of automation thinking within the fish business in particular. But the economic driver is number one, labour, and then secondary to that is influence from competition. So remaining competitive and just driving whatever cost of production out that you can, so that you have got a product that's hitting market at a price that is acceptable to the consumer, but also leaving margin for the producers and everybody in the value chain.
I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and digitization, certainly in this sector. Give me your lens on that.
So it comes down to data. So consumers are more aspirational and, dare I say, intelligent than they once were in terms of the questions they're asking. So consumers are asking about traceability. Retailers are asking about traceability, and that really drives that whole digitization agenda within seafood and food in general. But it's essentially looking at, where am I gathering information, where am I able to gather information through the entire value chain, and then how do I stitch that together? So in its most basic form, we'll go into a fish processing facility and we'll look around at the machinery that's involved. Some of the machinery is 40, 50 years old and is still going strong, still doing the job it was designed to do. But are there ways of interfacing with that machinery to gather information that is relevant to the story of that product through its journey? So can we put sensors on motors? Can we put sensors on other components within a machine that give you either information on how the machine is running and when is it likely to fail, which is an operational saving, or can you provide additional data on product which either feeds part of your QA agenda or your traceability story?
That's a fantastic explanation, no doubt about it. Now, let's talk a little bit about another big conversation that's been happening is trying to find value where we didn't once see that value. Sort of byproduct or co-product.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's even more valuable than the actual
Absolutely,
product
yeah.
itself. Give me your perspective on that.
So we've been working in value add for some time, and it's one of my sort of my pet peeves, if you like, is that there's no point throwing anything away. You know, if there is a commercial argument to derive value from something that you're throwing away, then you or someone associated should do what they can to try and get the value out of that. Why? Because you're already spending money on harvesting, you're spending money on removing that element from the ecosystem, so you may as well derive maximum value from it. But also the opportunities are there. I mean, when you look at what's available at a biological level in, say, shell waste, you know, the things that you can do with that stuff is incredible. And as technology moves on, you're getting to a point where you're essentially looking at making ingredients for other processes, whether it's, you know, into pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, or even you know, things like bioprintables. You know, 10 years ago we weren't talking about 3D printing body parts. Now we are, and some of the ingredients that are accessible within shell waste, for example, could be compatible with those bioprintable requirements. So it's really about understanding what is in the stuff you're throwing away, and then the next question is, okay, how do I then monetize it? And it may not be me, be me as a processor deriving the value, but that product may become someone else's in-feed for another downstream process.
A fantastic explanation yet again. So the conference itself, the first one they've had, what was your perspective on a good conference, worth doing again?
Very good. I think being in the Marine Institute is fantastic because the resources here are really good in terms of the machinery that's available, and just, you know, getting that up on a bit of a pedestal, I think, has been really good. It's always a good opportunity to come, you know, to St. John's. I love coming here. But equally, I think just any opportunity to get an industry together, whether it's seafood or other, is good because it's about developing the ecosystem. So, you know, we're here as an engineering company, but, you know, I'm mixing it up with processors, with harvesters, with government sponsors and supporters, with everybody else who's wrapped up in the value chain. And this is a massive industry for Atlantic Canada. So it's anything we can do to bolster that industry, improve the level of innovation that's going on in the industry. It's got to be a good thing. So.
Alastair, been an absolute pleasure to be in conversation with you, and wish you much success at Enginuity there. And as your coaster says,
get shit done. There we go.
Done.
Yeah, this is the words to live by. So, thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.